Hello guys, welcome to another video, and in this one we're going to be talking about a new unique body armour that was introduced to the game in Affliction League, and that's this one right here, Pragmatism. It drops exclusively from the King in the Mists during the Stronghold encounter in the Viridian Wildwood, and it's actually one of the more common drops from that boss. So Pragmatism is a really interesting body armour. It grants plus 12 to the level of socketed skill gems. This is specifically skill gems, so it won't grant gem levels to support gems. And then it has minus 2 to the level of socketed skill gems per socketed gem. So basically, if you were to put a normal 6 link in this body armor, you'd gain 12 gem levels from the first modifier, and then you'd lose 12 gem levels from the second modifier, effectively cancelling each other out. So the idea here then is to socket gems which gain a lot of benefits from additional gem levels but don't necessarily require many or any supporting links to function. And Pragmatism is being used a little bit, mainly in Maw of Mischief builds or body swap of sacrifice builds. These ones are using the body armor to gain a bunch of gem levels for minion gems so they have much higher base life, which makes sense. But today we're going to be talking about another really strong use case for Pragmatism, and that's brand recall. I was very surprised when I looked at PoE Ninja to find only one player using this interaction across all Affliction leagues. So brand recall is an active skill gem which, when used, pulls all of your active brands to a location and importantly activates all of them once as well. So why is this good with Pragmatism? Well, brand recall levels up to 6 through normal experience gain, and it can be corrupted to gain gem level 7. And each gem level grants increased cooldown recovery rate. So at level 7, brand recall gains 48% increased cooldown recovery rate, and there's another 20% available that comes from quality as well. However, when socketed into Pragmatism, brand recall gains 10 gem levels, so a level 7 brand recall becomes level 17. And with 20% quality, this means the gem will now have 148% increased cooldown recovery rate, which is absolutely insane. So here's an example character that I put together for the purpose of this interaction. This is a Hierophant, which has Sign of Purpose allocated for 100% increased brand recall CDR. And we're using a level 6 brand recall with 20% quality socketed into Pragmatism, so that's a level 16 brand recall. And on the passive skill tree, we're just taking the 2 brand wheels here. Firstly, the Runesmith wheel, which grants some brand duration and some increased brand recall CDR. And the mastery there for a further 50% increased cooldown recovery rate on brand recall as well. And up here, the other brand wheel, brand equity. This one grants even more brand recall CDR, some more duration, and importantly, 2 extra brands. And then another 2 extra brands coming from the mastery there too, for a total of 7 brands that we can use. And you can see our brand recall has a ridiculous 0.9 second cooldown, down from a base cooldown of 4 seconds. And I'm just using Armageddon brand in this example, so here's what it looks like in action. We cast our 7 brands, and then with brand recall on left click we can just move around, and every 0.9 seconds brand recall will be cast, bringing all 7 brands to our destination, and activating all of them on top of each other for some big damage. And 0.9 seconds is already ridiculous, but this is not even an optimized setup. For example, you could make use of an Ashes of the Stars amulet for a further gem level, and an extra chunk of cooldown recovery rate from quality as well. And since Pragmatism is fairly common and you don't need any kind of gem link setup, you could corrupt Pragmatism for an extra +1 to the level of socketed gems corruption too. And if you want to go even further still, you can use Enhance and Empower too. And here's the full setup in Path of Building. So here's a corrupted Pragmatism with +1 to the level of socketed gems. And socketed in Pragmatism we have a level 7 brand recall with 20% quality, linked to a level 4 Empower and a level 4 Enhance. And we're using a perfect roll Ashes of the Stars too, so brand recall ends up being a ridiculous level 19 with 82% quality, and it has a cooldown of just 0.759. That's insane. I'll point out that you'd want to be using the new Armageddon brand of recall with this setup, since it has much higher damage but deals less damage to the branded enemy. And that's fine because you're not relying on brand attachment activations to deal damage. Now, Hierophant is really cool, and I think that this is probably the best use of this setup. But I do want to talk about another interaction with Brand Recall, and that's the Saboteur and Spellslinger. Shout out to Jong Roan there. So here's the thing, Spellslinger is technically an active skill gem which supports other active skill gems, and this means that it also gains the gem levels provided by Pragmatism. And this is where things get really crazy, because Spellslinger provides increased cooldown recovery rate for the spell that it's supporting, and this stat also scales up with gem levels. So a level 21 Spellslinger socketed into Pragmatism along with Brand Recall will gain 8 gem levels, making it level 29, and providing 56% increased cooldown recovery rate for Brand Recall. And to add to that, the reservation also goes down from 25% to 22%. Saboteur also gets a further 30% CDR from the Like Clockwork Notable, and with the same 2 brand wheels allocated and the same masteries, Brand Recall has a 0.924 cooldown, and with the full setup with Empower, Enhance and Ashes of the Stars, this goes down to 0.825. So not quite as low as the Hierophant, but really important here is the interaction with the Saboteur's trigger bots, and this is why you're using Spellslinger in this setup. When you proc Spellslinger, it will cause Brand Recall to be triggered, and so trigger bots will trigger the skill twice from their location, putting all of the active brands to them and causing them to activate. With 7 brands, that's 14 brand activations every 0.9 seconds or so. That is completely ridiculous. And the really cool thing here is that the less damage modifier on Perfect Crime doesn't apply, because the triggered spell, in this case Brand Recall, is not the skill dealing damage. So Brand Recall takes on the less damage modifier, and that doesn't get passed on to your brands. So in this setup, trigger bots are literally applying double damage. Obviously, you do need to be actively triggering the Brand Recall with Spellslinger, so it's not the walking simulator kind of playstyle that the Hierophant will have. But the Saboteur does have the advantage that the trigger bots will cause recall to happen on top of them, so you don't have to be standing on top of the target to deal damage, so that's a nice bonus there. But overall, this is just a crazy interaction. It is your body armor slot that you're giving up, of course, which is a huge trade-off. It can't be understated just how much of a big trade-off that is. But yeah, really cool interaction that I wanted to talk about in today's video. And how are you getting on with Affliction League? Are you still playing, or perhaps you're patiently waiting for Zizaran to announce the Gauntlet? Let me know by commenting below. And thanks for watching this video, and thank you for your continued support. I appreciate you all. And as always, stay tuned and stay safe.